Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to meet you. I love your hat.
You as well. Thank you.
It looks great. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well. I'm well. I can't complain. Well, I could, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Oh, I think this
Awesome.
is such a perfect way to end the week, right? Like with a good conversation about design,
Yes.
fashion. But we're
Yes.
so happy to have you with us. For those who are tuning in, this conversation is part of Made in NYC Week. We're having Meet the Maker conversations, and today we're so thrilled to be talking to Gwen, and she's going to tell us all about her collection, her design, and yeah. But I always love to start the conversation with
hmm
talking about somebody's background, somebody's childhood. So let's start with hearing about a bit about your childhood because I think that kind of informs the way that we approach, especially like a creative endeavor. So
Yeah,
you're a Brooklyn native.
I am. That's interesting. No one has ever asked about my childhood. Yes, born and raised in Brooklyn. I absolutely adore my city. I've lived all over Brooklyn. I went to public school for my entire educational career up until college. I had a lot of friends, a lot of Caribbean friends. I grew up in Flatbush. I really just appreciate the culture of New York City. I was always, and not to toot my own horn at all, but I was always in like gifted and talented. I graduated high school really early. I started college at the age of 16. So yeah, I think I had a pretty colorful childhood here in Brooklyn.
Yeah. What were some of your hobbies growing up? What did you like to do?
I love music. I love dancing, even though I don't think I dance as good as I used to. I think I lost a lot of that rhythm along the way somehow.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love hanging out with my friends. Obviously, I love fashion. I've always loved just being really creative and kind of remixing things and changing them up. So fashion, color, like I've always been into like accessories, even when it comes to like pens and notebooks, like I'm totally obsessed. Yeah, just like music, fun, connecting with family and friends.
At what point was it that you decided you wanted to do something in design? Because I would say like a multi-hyphenate. You're doing
Thank you.
jewelry, you're doing fashion. When did you first realize that, oh, this is something that I'd like to pursue?
Yeah, it was actually later on in life. I was around 22, I believe. It's been a little while, almost like 12 years. And I had never sought out to be a designer, like of any source. It just kind of happened. Like I was going through a really tough time, and I feel like I was gifted with this kind of talent and hobby just to fill a void in the space and just to give me something to do. So it really came out of nowhere. And then I also just started making clothes, like completely self-taught before I went back to school to be formally trained. My weight, my most of my life has been up and down, so it was hard to find really cool and stylish clothes that fit the way I wanted them to. So I just started making pieces for myself, and then that flourished into a business. I would make things for friends and for family, and it just kind of bloomed from there.
Let's unpack that. That's like a whole journey. So
It is.
so what was the beginning of that? Was it that in school you thought, oh, design's interesting and I'd like to take more classes in this? Or was it you said that you were going through a difficult personal time? Was that kind of the impetus?
It's actually both. And as far as design, it wasn't until after I received my master's degree in psychology that I even pursued fashion. So it wasn't undergraduate work, it wasn't graduate, it was postgraduate work. And again, it just kind of found me, I think. So I was watching YouTube videos, reading a lot of books, and I taught myself how to make clothes because it's not fun when you go to the store and you see things that you like and they don't have your size, or if they do have your size, they don't fit well. So I'm like, junk this. Like, I'm a super stylish person and I want to be able to express that. So I taught myself how to make things. That's where it all started.
What somebody asked in the comments, what's good design for you?
Good design, based on something I just said, or just good design in general.
Yeah, so as you're going into stores and you're seeing clothes that you like, but they're not fitting right, what was it where you're like, oh, this is something really interesting though, but I want to make sure that it fits me?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say necessarily good or bad design, just options. There weren't enough options, right? Like, so the super trendy, cool things didn't necessarily one come in my size, or if they did, like, it was just a bit ill-fitting and didn't take into account like curves and things like that. So that's what I mean by just being more accessible, if you will, to more people.
Yeah, and it's such, I mean, I'm just talking from personal experience, but it's such like a, you feel so good about yourself when you go in to try something on and it flows right, right? It's the right length,
Exactly.
the right, it just feels good. You walk
Yeah,
into a room differently. So for people
totally.
watching, I want to walk them through like from this moment that you decided that you would like to start doing things in design, what does that look like? Because I think that's often something that's glazed over when entrepreneurs talk about their journey, like kind of the
Yeah,
late nights or like the struggle, you know? So was it, what
yeah.
was the first step?
So the first step was YouTube, Amazon, buying books, sitting on the floor, teaching myself how to make a pattern. So it wasn't just kind of like just cutting and sewing. It was like everything, how to grade, how to size up, how to size down, how to, what do you call it? Mock up. So like if I had a favorite pair of jeans and I wanted that exact fit, I had to teach myself how to kind of trace that to replicate that, the fit or what have you. So it was a lot. When I think back, like you don't necessarily consider all of the baby steps that went into like the end result, but it was a lot. A lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, but it was something that it just felt like it was kind of destiny for me. Like it was a journey that I was meant to take. So it wasn't, it's not anything that I regret, but it was a lot.
All right, it disconnected for a sec. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's okay. Yeah, so a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of research, a lot of reaching out to people, networking, getting my hands dirty. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you, as you started down that path, do you feel like you had a community of other people who were either a bit ahead of you in the game or were at the same level where you could learn from each other?
A little bit of both, but I think oftentimes as an entrepreneur, you can feel like you're behind everyone else, like because there will always be people that are ahead of you. But it's nice to have people on your level that you can connect with and talk to so you don't feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I'm supposed to be here, yet I'm still all the way over here. So it's nice to have that mixed network of people because you want to have something to aspire to, but also, someone you can connect to on your same level as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can identify with like being on your carpet with like research spread out everywhere and just trying to teach yourself how to do whatever
Yeah.
it is. How did you transition from being there teaching yourself to learning more formally?
I think it was the confidence and the encouragement that I received from like my network, my family and friends. Like even when I started making things for myself, I still didn't consider it to be a business. And that wasn't something that I sought after, but people would say things like, you should really do something with this. The pieces are great. Can you make this for me? Make that for me? I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it on a professional level. And that's when I decided to go back to school and I became certified as a fashion designer.
What's fashion school like?
It's fun. It's still work like any other type of genre or education, but it's fun, especially if you love it. So sewing, grading, pattern making, draping, that's all a part of like the design process. So I would say that it's fun, but it's work like anything else, any other type of school or education that you pursue.
I remember, so I studied economics, so totally different world. And I remember whenever I
Yeah.
would to the art school or the architecture school and you'd see all of these students like drafting and building models. I thought this is so cool. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is.
such a different world.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's work too. And again, my background is psychology. So the worlds are kind of different. Like you get your hands wet a little bit more when it comes to being a creative. Um, yeah, it's interesting.
Why did you decide to get your master's in psychology?
So I got my undergraduate in psychology as well, and I wanted to work in human resources. Like I've always wanted to connect with people on an emotional level, if you will. So I've always been interested in people. So that's why I pursued psychology.
Do you feel like as you matured in your fashion and in your design that the psychology came into play? Your
I do.
experience with psychology?
Yeah, I do. I think I always try to make an emotional connection and go beyond the product. Like, so I try not to just sell a thing and to sell an experience, rather, if you will, and create memories. And I think psychology definitely plays a role in that, wanting to connect with people on that emotional and kind of people person level versus just being a salesperson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about this moment of COVID and whether that will change the way that brands design and communicate with consumers, whether it will start to feel a little bit more human because maybe they are taking in
Yeah.
some of the psychology of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that I think that would be like interesting to see. So once you've started your brand and you're starting to do designs, how does someone go from being at their machine designing, maybe being up late at night, to getting it on people?
Yeah, so you start with your small community, your mom, your best friend, your sister's sister. You make prime dresses and things like that because it's in your immediate network. And then you build, like, I started reaching out to people who were like on television and I said, hey, would you mind wearing my pieces? I would email bloggers, email big magazines. They weren't trying to hear me, but I did it anyway. So I think you have to put into your mind that you want to take it to that next step and then just go for it, whatever that means, however that looks for you and whatever your industry is.
What was the first traction you got as you're
Um,
doing?
there was a news anchor. It was super local, and I emailed her. It was like a food show connected to like the Catholic Church in the area, something like that, I think. And she responded. She was like, "Totally, I wear it." So she wore it on her show. Like it was local, not that many people could see it, but that was major for me at the time. I was like, "Wait a minute!" Someone said yes to something that I created, and that felt really good.
When you got the email or message from her, you just like dancing and
Stoked because I emailed so many people. So when you get that first yes, it feels really good. It kind of validates what it is that you're producing in your art.
Mhm. And it allows you to then, when you reach out to other people, start to say, oh, it's being worn in this way. Are you also interested in being part of that?
Yeah, you can definitely use that as leverage for sure
Yeah.
and continue to build on that.
Get momentum? Like who started to wear
Yeah. So who was one of my items? Estelle wore a dress that I made. Estelle, she's a Grammy Award singer. Who else? I've been in a bunch of magazines and blogs and stuff like that, some print magazines as well. A couple of other famous people. I can't recall at the moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, no, no. I
But
mean,
they're,
it's like amazing to hear the journey and hear like what it is like from the very beginning when you're working on it by yourself to then when it's growing. Even once you started creating your designs, then what is the process for like turning it into a brand, right? Like having the social media around it, having the website around it so that people feel like it's a brand that they're speaking to.
right. Yeah, and those are all necessary. It's a lot of work. Like even social media in itself feels like another job.
Mm.
Like it's a lot. But if you want to present yourself as, like you said, like a formal business, you do have to consider those things. And I would say take baby steps. Don't rush into trying to do everything at once. So you have your domain, then you build your website, you create a social media page. But to be too overwhelmed, I don't think is good, especially in the early stages. So I try to balance that. Easier said than done, especially as a creative. Like I want to be making things, not necessarily accounting or filing for business papers or posting on social media all the time. So I think it's a matter of kind of trying to find that balance, which is a challenge, I think, even for me today still.
Yeah. Were there resources, because this is a conversation specifically with Made in NYC, were there resources specific to New York City or that helped you in this process?
Yeah, and Made in NYC has definitely been a major contribution. They provide amazing free resources that access to things that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise because of capital and things of that nature. SCORE is another organization. They provide free mentorship for local businesses. And then I think just networking with other people in the industry. They have friends and they have friends, and being open to connecting to people and not being so isolated and thinking that you can do it on your own, because you definitely cannot.
No, it takes a community.
Yeah.
People who are watching this who are curious about also building their own business, to walk away from the conversation with like nuggets of things that they can look up. So going back to like the resources from Made in NYC and even SCORE, what were like specific classes you took or resources that they offered that were really impactful for you?
One was definitely on branding. It's important to have a clear brand story so people can identify you, whether you're in this space or that space, or just kind of having a cohesive brand story. They provide a lot of resources on that, as well as photography. And I've taken advantage of a lot of their photography resources. You know, you have this amazing product, but you want to be able to convey it to people in a way that's beautiful, right? Not just in person, but even on the screen, right? So on your website or on social media. There have been a lot, but those have been the two biggest ones for me: branding, your clear story, color story, whatever it might be, style, aesthetic, and also conveying that through imagery and quality imagery.
What is the photography component? Because another entrepreneur that we spoke to said that that was really important for her.
Yeah. So they have so many. One, they'll take the pictures for you. They'll have a professional photographer, and they'll work with students who are in training, and they'll actually take all the photos for you. You just bring the concept as well as the product. And that's amazing because photography is really, really expensive, quality photography. So that has been an amazing resource. And they also have classes to teach you how to take your own photos, right? So if you can't make it to the studio, if you can't afford it, and you just need to take a quick picture of a new product, you have the skill set to do so yourself.
That's amazing because I mean, I know that from personal
Amazing.
experience, photography is really expensive, and the difference between like an okay photo and a really great photo makes all the difference.
All the difference.
People interact with you differently, and the opportunities are different. Um,
Yeah.
no, that's great. I want to, so you now people are starting to wear your brand, you have your website. I saw on your website that then you also started working with a nonprofit. Can you tell us about the work that you're doing with that? Because I love that it's
Yeah.
girls.
I've actually been working with them for a really long time, almost as early as 2010, so probably about 10 or so years. So the name of the organization is Little Dresses for Africa, and they provide relief to children in Africa and various countries throughout the continent. So we make little dresses for them made out of pillowcases, and we have been doing that, myself and customers and people from the community. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. Well, this would have been year six, but we kind of switched it up because of COVID a little bit. We had a contest. So we get together, and in one day we produce 100 dresses made out of pillowcases, and we send them to the organization, and they disseminate them throughout the country where there's need.
What has that experience been like now that you guys are, you said 5 years in?
This is year six, yeah. So it's been amazing. Just I think people really appreciate doing something for someone else. Like a lot of the people who volunteer, they've never sewn before, so they're actually leaving with the skill set. They're giving of their time and of their heart and everything like that, but they also leave with a new skill. So that's been amazing to watch. You know, they don't know how to sew, but they want to help, so they show up and they help. And a lot of the people come back year over year, and that's really exciting to see the same faces. They make it a priority. They save the date, and it's just been really amazing working with the volunteers as well as working with Little Dresses for Africa.
You said this year it was turned into a competition. What was the competition?
Yeah, so obviously we couldn't connect to have our typical sew-a-thon in person because of COVID. So we hosted a contest, and we offered people the opportunity to make a dress from home, and we had the community vote on it, and the winner won $100, and the runner-up won $50, and we posted it on Instagram, and everyone voted. So that was really, really cool. And both of the winners, they have never sewn before with the formal sewing machine. They made the entire dress by hand.
Like one stitch after.
One stitch at a time. I posted a tutorial on how to do that. You can totally do it. All you need is a needle, a thread, and a pillowcase and some little intricate designs, and you can totally do it.
Do you think that's something that you guys will continue post COVID if you're able to reach people that maybe
Yeah,
you before?
Exactly. We were able to reach people all over. Not everyone had to be local, so that made it even more exciting. So I think we'll find a way to kind of squeeze that in next year too.
Yeah, and so that's an annual thing, or is it something that people who are watching, is that something that they can be involved with throughout the year, or it's in a once a year thing?
So our project is called 100 Dresses for Little Dresses for Africa, and we organize that once a year. But if you want to donate to the organization, you want to make some dresses, by all means, you should totally do it whenever you're available. I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. And so, kind of going back to the work that you're doing as a designer, what has this COVID period looked like for you?
It's been interesting. It's had its pros, its cons, and it's hard to kind of see pros, if you will, because it's been such a dark time for so many. But I try to find the silver lining. We've been able to connect with our customer on a more intimate level, sending out more emails, obviously, asking questions, asking them what it is that they want, that they need from the brand. So in that regard, it's been positive, if you will. We've also had to pivot, like the production of the apparel has been a little bit challenging. So I put a halt on that and we're focusing strictly on the accessories. We also introduced a subscription model for the jewelry. So there have been some moments where we've needed to pivot. We're just trying to make the best of it.
What feedback have you heard from customers through like your mailing and newsletter?
I think everyone has been really supportive, and whoever can support by way of making a purchase, they have, and they know that businesses need that right now. So I'm grateful for the response. I think everyone has been really open. Yeah.
Tell us about the subscription model. I'm curious.
Oh my God. It's called Golden Stories Accessory Box.
Love it.
Then Golden Stories. Yeah, the name came about because all of the pieces that we feature on Gwen Beloti, they're all gold piece, 14 karat gold filled jewelry. I've always just been obsessed with gold, like not even just in jewelry, like my calculator, my ruler, everything is
It
gold. Like
feels warm.
it's doesn't it? And it just feels so luxe, and I've just always loved it. So when I would post pictures of the jewelry on Instagram, I would just hashtag Golden Stories. So then when I decided to introduce a subscription model, I'm like, wait a minute, we've been using this hashtag all along. It just makes sense. So that's where the name comes from. Golden Stories. You're telling your golden story because the pieces in your box are golden. You're totally golden as well. So it's a seasonal box. Every 3 months, you get a box of jewelry with 1 to 2 high quality 14 karat gold filled designs. And it's designed to build a complete capsule collection. So you have like different layers of necklaces that you can stack. You get bangles. So it's really thought out and strategic. So I'm really, really excited about that.
That sounds amazing. How has the response been? Like, are people posting photos of themselves wearing the
It's
pieces?
It's been great. The other day, like I was almost in tears because it's still new. It's only a year in that we've started the subscription box, and this amazing woman that I don't know, she posted a full YouTube kind of like unboxing and review of the product, and it was so beautifully done. It was just really cool to watch. And all the other members will post pictures of them and their pieces they share with their friends. So that's been really, really exciting.
I love to see how people are innovating during this time, whether it's something that they started a year ago or something that they started more.
Sure.
It, it's really inspiring. When you look forward, what are some things that are on your mind, things that you'd like to pursue? Because as I've been speaking to other makers throughout New York City, they're already starting to talk about the holidays and kind of gearing up for that. What are some things that are on your mind as you look forward?
Yeah, same. I'm trying to plan ahead as well. Like I've already ordered all of my packaging for the holiday season because when COVID first hit, like it was really difficult to get things in the mail and I don't want to have to deal with that. So I'm also thinking ahead for the holiday time. Luckily, I love the holiday season, so I'm like playing Christmas music in September, so it's not weird for me
Uh,
to think ahead like
it's
that.
still too, you know, like it makes
I
you,
know.
whether
Feels so
it's
warm and cozy.
memories, it makes it fun and
It
yeah.
does. If you're having a bad day in July, just play some Christmas carols, play Mariah Carey or something like that. So yeah, totally preparing for that. We're also offering a deluxe option for the holiday box for the quarterly subscription. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, we have some excited new pieces that'll be available for the holiday. But yeah, I'm totally thinking about holiday right now. You have to because things just move so fast and you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah. As you make the designs, you said each of these boxes is filled with designs so that as people get them, they can start to layer. What does that look like in the design process? Is it you sitting there? Um, uh, what is the design
Yeah,
creative
so
process look like?
it's a combination. We have to think about what's going to be in the box, and depending on what that piece is, that'll determine the production process. So if it's chain, yep, it's me making it, or I might outsource to like a maker to kind of help me like on a part-time, but it's
Yeah.
mostly me. But if it's some hardware, I work with a goldsmith. So it's a combination. It depends on what's going in the box, and then we plan backwards based on that.
Wow, wow. I love that. I'm gonna go like take a closer
Take a look at it.
look at the website because it's been really inspiring to as I've been talking to makers through Made in NYC Week to hear what they're working on. During this period being in New York, have you been leaning on or collaborating with other New York makers to kind of navigate like next steps or does that make sense?
Yeah, I think more on a brainstorming and kind of emotional level, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, things are really tough. How's your business? What are you doing to solve this problem? So on that level, yeah, just especially initially, like it was really tough. And the e-commerce space is like super crowded, asking other designers, what are you doing to your website to make it more attractive? How many emails are you sending out a week? So things of that nature, getting like business advice and tips and just brainstorming with other makers has
Yeah.
been really helpful.
What are some of the tips that have come out of those conversations so that people who are watching this can kind of also benefit from the conversation?
Yeah. So for me, I never like to feel like I'm overwhelming someone. So I asked someone else, she's a female maker as well. I'm like, how often are you emailing people? Like, I'm like, I don't want to be like a pest. And she was like, girl, just send the email, like connect with your customers. They want to hear from you. So I started to do that. And the reception, the response from the community was great. So sometimes you just got to like get out of your head. Like no one is thinking that you're being annoying and just do it. So that was a really, really great piece of advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people who are tuned into you, they'll want to open it, and that will also kind of like help you target and like understand who your audience is. And
Exactly.
as you've been doing that, who do you find is your audience?
So, especially when it comes to like the subscription box, it's the working woman, like she's super busy, like, and she loves jewelry, but it's just like she doesn't have time. And there's so many options because there's so many beautiful pieces of jewelry, so many beautiful makers, and she doesn't necessarily know how to kind of sift through what's quality or what style she likes, but she wants like super cool pieces for every day. So we kind of take the guesswork out of that, and we make sure that she builds like a complete collection, so she's ready for her everyday look. So those women have kind of flocked to us like, I love it, I'm not really sure. So we make sure to offer like a quality guarantee, and that kind of makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. People are hesitant when it comes to like a subscription. Wait a minute, I have to join for how long? So
Yeah.
you want to make sure they have those buffers in place as well.
And I think when you're busy receiving, I love like snail mail. I think
Yeah.
there's something being able to like open a box. It just feels really special. So I think people, especially when you're really busy, to receive that feels kind of like
Yeah.
as you've been going throughout your like entrepreneurial journey, what has your family said? Because I think it's so important to have like support systems as you're pursuing something creative. How has your family been part of this journey or friends been part of the journey?
Yeah, they've all been really, really supportive, and they've witnessed from day one, so they definitely have a different perspective than like your consumer.
Hmm.
So that's really special, and I feel like you can be a bit more vulnerable around your friends and family who were there from the start, like especially on days like when business isn't going so good. They're not that hard on you. They're just kind of quiet, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really important to have that network that you can have those really honest conversations with about how things are going.
Yeah. No, I know as I've been building Future of Women, same calls to mom, calls to sister. Oh, we were like, what about this idea? They kind of help you like workshop.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
they serve as amazing like for a focus group, totally. Like I
oh,
call my girlfriends like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, a group call becomes the focus group. Um, I think it's so important to have those.
Yeah.
So what designs you're doing both jewelry and fashion, right? you're doing. What on the fashion side, because we've talked a lot about the jewelry side, on the fashion side, what types of designs are you working on right now? What's going on behind the scenes?
So actually, since COVID, we put a halt on the apparel because of some of the constraints when it comes to like production and things like that. The challenges, rather, for me personally, every business owner is different. Like, and I just decided to lean into what was already really working, which was the accessories sector of the brand. But I have not given up on apparel, and I'm looking forward to introducing a line soon, maybe in the next couple of years. And I want to be able to do it the right way, if you will, and not be kind of clouded with other things and really give it the attention that it needs.
Yeah. When you think about designing clothes, is there a certain look or cut or style that is most interesting to you that as you think about a line in the coming years you want to explore?
Yeah, so my style has always been like kind of minimalistic, but with a bit of an edge. Same with the jewelry, like with the ability to kind of build. So I work with a lot of solids, so you can kind of like accessorize a lot with that or wear it with like a blazer or a sweater. So that has always been like my aesthetic when it comes to design, because even when I was looking for clothes back in the day, I was just looking for everyday wear that was super stylish. So that's always like, it's my story is very much connected to like why I design and how I design. So really everyday stylish kind of pieces that you can really maximize.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think when we build, like as entrepreneurs, when you build something that you yourself need, it it feels different. It feels like there's soul to it. Have you had people approach you saying that they heard your story and they also identify with it? Like, has that been part of the narrative?
Yeah, particularly when it comes to like the clothing and fit and things like that. Um, Women will express that they have the same issues with not being able to find things that fit well or being able to find their size in like a super cool dress that they wanted or what have you. So definitely when it comes to the clothing and fit, like we can have those conversations all day long, because I think a lot of people deal with that, regardless of what your size is. Fit is not necessarily connected to that at all. Like it could just be based on how something falls on your body or the shape of your body or what have you. So we're always having those conversations when it comes to apparel.
Is there a specific conversation where somebody has told you their story and you're like, wow, I never expected this?
Yeah, so I used to host like trunk shows when I was doing the apparel. And one of the women that were there that was at the event, she wanted to try on a dress, but she was a little bit hesitant because the dress was kind of like, it was fitted, but I'm like, just try it on. It'll look amazing on you. And when she put it on, like she was really emotional because she was like, I would have never thought to put this on because people say I shouldn't do this because of my size, because of my shape. And everyone at the event was just kind of like rallying around her, like, you look so beautiful. So sometimes you just got to step out and just try it and not be all in your head, because oftentimes it's us thinking X, Y, and Z. And she looked amazing. It was a beautiful experience.
Wow. Yeah, I mean the stories that we tell ourselves, it's so important to surround yourself by people that can lift you up and
Yeah,
like that. Well, it's been so wonderful speaking with you.
same.
Love your designs. I love your style. Um,
Thank you.
for people who are watching, go online, check out her line, check out the subscription boxes. They sound wonderful.
They
um,
are.
they sound so beautiful, and I'm gonna take another closer look.
Okay.
But it's been so wonderful to hear your story. I think the entrepreneurial journey, it's this very circuitous route.
Oh my God.
Able to hear specific examples of what somebody's journey was like is so helpful. I mean, at least to me, and comforting to me as a fellow entrepreneur.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for this amazing platform and what you're doing with your community. This is definitely necessary.
Thank you so much. And I want to say also thank you to Made in NYC for hosting this Made in NYC 2020 week. I think it's such like an uplifting thing to see all these conversations with makers across New York City. It's such an uplifting thing to see right now. So I want to thank them for hosting that and thank them for having Future of Women be part of it. My name's Hallie Applebaum, and I'm the founder of Future of Women, and we're a platform for celebrating women's stories around the world, and so happy to be part of this. So have a great day. Have a great
This is awesome. Thanks, Haley.
you. Have a great day. Bye.
You too, hon. Bye.